She slammed her car door so hard the sound echoed across the street. "You can't just show up here and claim this property," she yelled, marching toward me like she owned the ground under my boots. I didn't move. I just leaned against the fence post, holding the folded deed in my hand. She pointed at me like I was some trespasser. "This is HOA land. You're not allowed to be here without approval." Her voice was shrill, and the neighbors peeked through blinds like it was a free show. I almost laughed, but instead I said, calm and slow, "Funny thing, Karen, because the HOA doesn't own this place. I do." That line made her freeze for a second. Then she shook her head, face red, and barked, "Liar! We'll call security, and you'll be dragged out in handcuffs. No one moves in here without our say-so." She reached into her bag, pulled out some crumpled paper, and slapped it against my chest. "Here, violation notice. Pack up and leave." I unfolded the paper and smirked. It wasn't even official. Just bold letters printed on cheap office paper, stamped with something she must have made in her garage. The neighbors whispered, but Corinne kept her chin high like she had already won. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Careful, Corinne, because if you keep this up, you'll be the one packing bags. Turns out, you just lost your landlord." Her jaw dropped. She hadn't seen that coming at all. Corinne's laugh came out sharp, almost desperate. "You, my landlord, don't make me laugh. I've been running this neighborhood for 10 years. People listen to me." She jabbed her finger toward the row of houses, as if the entire block belonged to her. Some neighbors had slipped outside now, curious, standing on porches with folded arms. Nobody jumped to defend her. I pulled out the envelope my lawyer had sent me last week and let the papers slide out slowly. "This land belonged to my grandfather. He left it to me. Every single plot you've been trying to bully, it's under my name now." For the first time, she blinked and actually read the heading. Her lips trembled, but she covered it fast with a fake smirk. "Even if that's true, you still have to play by my rules. HOA controls everything. Your mailbox, your driveway, your front porch lights. And if you don't like it, I'll fine you until you're broke." I let her rant while I pulled my phone from my pocket, clicking on the screen. A security feed popped up. Clear video of her, just yesterday, sneaking around the same porch she claimed to govern, slapping her fake notices on doors. The crowd leaned forward to watch. I raised the phone so she couldn't miss it. "Funny how you say you run things, but this footage shows you trespassing on property you don't even own. Should I send this to the sheriff's office now or later?" The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth to shout, but all that came out was a shaky whisper. That footage doesn't prove anything." She snatched at the phone, but I stepped back and slipped it into my pocket before her fingers even brushed it. "Don't you dare record me without permission!" she shrieked, her voice cracking. A neighbor from across the street finally spoke up. "Karen, that's not how it works. He owns the property, and you can't just keep making up rules." The man's words cut through the air, and a few others nodded. For the first time, Karen didn't have the crowd on her side. She spun on them like a cornered animal. "You all are ungrateful. Who organizes your block parties? Who makes sure your lawns look presentable? Without me, this place would be trash." I folded my arms and let her dig her own hole. "Block parties don't give you the right to break into homes and scare families," I said. "And by the way, Karen, you've been charging people extra fees for years, haven't you?" Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide. That was the one secret she hadn't expected me to know. That's none of your business," she hissed. "Oh, it is," I replied, pulling out another paper, this one a bank statement my lawyer had traced. "Payments going directly into your account, not the HOA's, yours." The crowd murmured louder now, shock turning into anger. One woman gasped, clutching her child's hand. Karen's hands shook as she reached for the papers, but I held them high.
You see, Karen, my voice steady. I didn't come back here to argue. I came back to clean up the mess you made. And the best part? You'll have to answer not just to me, but to the law. Her face went pale, and she stumbled back a step like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. Karen's heels scraped against the pavement as she backed up, but her pride wouldn't let her stay quiet. You think you're some kind of hero? The police will believe me, not some stranger who just wandered back into town, she barked, her voice trembling. I tilted my head. Is that so? I pulled out my wallet and flipped it open, letting the silver badge glint under the afternoon sun. Gasps rippled through the small crowd. Sheriff's Department, I said calmly. Retired, but still have friends on the force. Karen's fake confidence shattered. She stumbled again, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to swallow her own words. The neighbors leaned in closer, whispering. One of them even laughed nervously. You're bluffing, she spat, though her voice cracked halfway. Am I asked, thumbing through my phone until a familiar voice answered on speaker. Hey, Captain, it's me. I might need a squad car to swing by Maple Drive. Got a woman handing out fake HOA notices and collecting money under the table. The captain's deep voice boomed through the speaker. Copy that. We've had complaints about her before. I'll send a unit right now. The crowd erupted into murmurs, people shaking their heads in disbelief. Karen's face drained completely of color, and she clutched her bag like it was the only thing keeping her upright.
The squad car slid to a stop, 2 officers stepping out with slow, careful faces. They asked for my side first. I handed over the phone, the deed, the bank papers, everything in neat order. One officer watched the video, then looked up at Karen. Ma'am, you're under arrest for impersonating an HOA official and fraud, he said, and the words hit her harder than any punch. She started to ramble about community service and threats, tried to wave the crumpled notice like it was paper armor, but the other officer had already searched her bag and found envelopes stuffed with cash and handwritten receipts addressed to her name. Neighbors who had once clapped for her now shook their heads. A man I'd never spoken to before stepped forward and said, "We filed a complaint months ago. She took our money." Karen's screams turned thin, then brittle, as the handcuffs clicked. As they led her away, she spat, "You'll see, this won't hold in court." I kept my voice quiet and even. "You sold their trust for pennies," I said. "That's not something a judge forgets." The officers loaded her into the car. People started talking. Relief and anger mixed together. Just before the car pulled off, Karen fixed me with a look that was all venom and warning. "This is bigger than me. You won't like what I bring next." Her words hung in the air like a promise I didn't ask for. They drove her away, sirens fading, but her last words kept knocking around in my head like a promise. Next morning, an ugly envelope waited on my porch. Court papers. She'd filed for a temporary restraining order and claimed I was harassing HOA members. For a second, a sick cold crawled up my spine. The neighbors watched from behind curtains again, unsure who to believe. I didn't panic. I called my lawyer and then the county recorder. Quiet moves, the ones that break people who shout the loudest. At the hearing, the HOA's lawyer stood up, all smooth suit and louder words, and said, "This man is a threat to our community order." The judge looked over his glasses, and for a heartbeat I felt the room tilt. But my lawyer handed the judge something. The original deed with the transfer recorded decades ago, the county stamp still clear, and a notarized chain of title showing every lot belonged to my grandfather before any HOA paperwork ever existed. She flipped another page. Bank records we'd subpoenaed, showing Karen's withdrawals and the HOA president's signature on checks that never went into a community account. The judge's expression changed. But the real twist hit when my phone buzzed. My sister had posted a short clip to the local news, and it was already blowing up. Karen on camera, admitting to collecting fees and telling people she was in charge while the HOA had no legal standing. Live comments flashed. "We were scammed! Arrest her! Where's the HOA president?" The courtroom murmured, phones raised like tiny sails. The judge denied the restraining order and ordered an immediate audit of the HOA's books.
As we walked out, someone from the neighborhood grabbed my hand and said, "You saved our homes!" I looked out at the rows of houses. So many small fights had started because one woman loved power more than people. I felt proud, yes, but also a cold warning in my pocket. Karen's threat wasn't empty. Still, I turned to the waiting crowd and said something that stuck. "You don't get to own people. You only get what you can honestly earn." The line landed like a hammer. Behind me, my lawyer squeezed my shoulder. This wasn't finished, but for the first time, the whole block was finally awake.
Days passed, and the HOA's empire crumbled like wet paper. Auditors uncovered years of fake fines, missing funds, and signatures that didn't match. Neighbors who once stayed quiet now lined up to give statements, some even demanding refunds. It should have been over, but Karen wasn't built to go down clean. One evening, just as the sun dipped low, I caught the glint of headlights idling outside my fence. A black SUV, tinted windows. Too still, too familiar. My gut tightened. When I stepped onto the porch, the window rolled down, and Karen's smirk appeared, bruised but burning with fury. She wasn't alone. Two men in cheap suits sat beside her, silent, watching. "You think a couple of cops and some papers will stop me?" she hissed. "I built this neighborhood. These people answer to me." I walked closer, slow and steady. "No, Karen, they answered to fear. That's gone now." One of the men shifted, revealing a badge clipped to his belt. Except it didn't look right. Shiny, but off. The kind you order online. Fake cops again. My jaw tightened. She was escalating. "You're trespassing," I said firmly, loud enough for my outdoor cameras to catch every word. "Leave now, or this video goes straight to the sheriff's office." Her smile cracked for a second, then twisted back. "You think you own the land," she said, voice low and dangerous, "but you'll never own the people. They'll crawl back when they realize you can't protect them." The SUV roared as she pulled away, tires spitting gravel, her laughter hanging in the air like smoke. I stood there, fists clenched, the weight of her words sinking in. She wasn't just fighting for control anymore. She was preparing for war. And deep down, I knew the next move had to be mine. The war she promised came faster than I expected. A week later, flyers showed up in every mailbox, bold letters screaming, "Dangerous man on your street," with my picture underneath. Karen was trying to turn the whole neighborhood against me. Some folks looked shaken, others embarrassed, but most marched straight to my porch with the papers still in their hands. "We don't buy it," they said. "We've seen the truth." That was the moment I realized her grip was gone. But still, I wasn't about to let her poison linger. I filed a civil suit, not just against Karen, but the entire sham HOA board she'd built around herself. Court dragged for weeks, but every lie she'd planted came out under oath. Fake bylaws, fake fines, even a second secret account she'd hidden under her cousin's name. When the gavel finally dropped, the HOA was dissolved, and Karen was ordered to repay every stolen dollar with interest. The sheriff's department made it public, press cameras catching the moment her assets were seized, her fake authority stripped down to nothing. For years, she'd strutted these streets like a queen. Now she stood on the curb with nothing but the weight of her own mistakes, while neighbors cheered from porches she no longer controlled. I raised my eyes to the crowd and said the only words that mattered. This land was never hers. It was my grandfather's gift, and now it belongs to every family who deserves peace. The cheer that followed wasn't just noise. It was freedom echoing down the block.